Hello, we're at the Wargames Illustrated / Nevermind the Billhooks table now, and I've got with me the guy who made the boards. This is David Marshall, he's from TMTerrain. So, there's a lot going on top of these boards, but we'll just talk about the baseboards for a minute ourselves. So, the idea, David, was to go from the harbour into the town to the countryside, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that I wanted was the fact that everything on here is take-on, take-offable,
Yep.
so it's not nothing's integrated. But just tell us a bit about your methods for making. Let's start with the waterboard. How do you build it up?
Well, once I've made the wooden carcass, and these were 4 foot by 2 foot carcasses, I then polystyrene infill, and then in this water is just a polyfiller, or I actually use Artex, sort of palette knifed onto it, and then I use the palette knife to create hopefully a little bit of wavy look, and then paint it a blue base, and then wash it with greens and blacks and browns, and a little bit of a highlight to highlight some of the waves, and then just a varnish. Okay. So that's the water.
Right.
Yeah, pretty simple really. It's very messy, the Artex bit. It's just, yeah, but otherwise it's easy.
Okay. And what about the other boards? So that's a bit more towny, so there's a bit less green, a bit less flock on it, but these 3 boards have been built in a similar kind of way,
They have, yeah. Really the only difference, the waterboard is thinner, but all the other boards are 40 millimetres thick, but built the same way with a polystyrene infill, but then I'll cover it in grout rather than Artex. The grout gives a harder finish to it. Okay. And then I can texture it, and in this case I've textured with sand and birdcage grit, but other places I can just sand or however it works.
Yeah.
And then with the town board there's no flock at all, because you're just having buildings on it. And then the other 2 I've used flock, and that's a mix of a dark green, medium green and a light green to give it that hopefully a little bit of variety in colour.
Okay.
And then spray all of it with PVA glue, just to give it make it sure it sticks and doesn't rub off.
Right. And then we've got two very nice little hills, haven't we, or hillocks? So we've got the one that the castle sits on and the one that the monastery sits on. So I guess you built those 2 in a similar kind of way.
Yes, I did. The base is a PVC plastic base. I used to use MDF sheets, but sometimes it warps. This plastic now just never warps. So that as a base, polystyrene again stuck on, and then I use woodland scenic rock moulds with plaster for the rocks. So I just get a load of those, stick them on with grout again, cover the top with grout, and paint it and to finish. And I had to make sure that they were the right size for the buildings, because the buildings are from your collection.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, well, now you have the microphone and you ask me about the buildings, because I bet you'd like to know, wouldn't you?
I would.
Yeah.
I would.
Okay. Right, well,
I've seen these buildings over the years in the magazine.
Yeah.
From your collection. So where do you get them from?
Right, well, thanks for asking.
That's all right.
So these buildings, and what we're talking about here is the castle, the big castle, the monastery building, and one of the bigger buildings in the town as well. They were commissioned by the original owner and founder of Wargames Illustrated, our much beloved Duncan McFarlane. Yeah. So there's a guy in America, Herb Gunt, who used to trade under the name of H.G. Walls. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, I know Herb.
Yeah.
Well, I know Herb Gunt, yeah.
Yeah, well, Duncan commissioned them from him. So they were scratch built, completely scratch built, and then Duncan got them back to the UK, apparently as hand luggage on the plane. The castle comes in 2 halves, so he somehow managed to get that in the overhead locker. So we've got Duncan to thank for those buildings, made in the 90s, I think, but they look fantastic.
They do, don't they? Yeah. Herb Gunt was brilliant.
Yeah.
And
the other buildings, the ones in the town, they're Grand Manor. So
is that one a Grand Manor, that tower?
No, I don't think that tower is. That again was inherited from Duncan's collection. but I don't know where that's come from. A lot of the stuff we inherited from Duncan, I don't actually know where it came from.
Yeah.
So the most of the smaller buildings in the town, they're Dave Bodley Grand Manor.
Yeah.
And then the harbour, that's from Etsy. I bought that from Etsy from a company in America again, actually, who print 3D terrain. So I think it's sort of designed more for fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons and that kind of thing. And then we have got a bit of Games Workshop stuff from their Lake Town collection.
Are they the boats?
Yeah, the boats and some of the sort of background to the harbour as well. Some of the wooden stuff. On the table, we've got a couple of galleys that have been made. One made by Steve Wood, and they started out as MDF from Sarissa, and then they've been converted slightly.
Was that an article in the magazine for one of those?
It's going to be. So by the time you watch this, maybe it will be, yeah. And the guy running the game today is Andy Callan, who is the guy who wrote Nevermind the Billhooks. He's just waving us some of the MDF kits, actually. So he's playing Billhooks Italia on one part of the board, and then Boat Hooks, which will be the forthcoming supplement for Billhooks on the other side of the board. Right. Figures of Perry's, Salt Group, and some Wargames Atlantic.
That wagon?
That wagon was built by Steve Wood again, and it was built from some plans that we put in Wargames Illustrated magazine, actually. And it was originally 15 mil, and Steve converted it into a 28 mil. So he made that himself. Yeah. Don't know about the other two wagons, so don't ask me about them, David.
What about the trees? Because they look really smart.
Trees are very nice. They're from Debris of War. The guy at Debris of War has made a lot of stuff for Wargames Illustrated over fairly recent years, and so they're a really nice addition. Yeah. Nice to have some good-looking trees.
Yeah, lovely, aren't they? Yeah.
So there you are. That's about it, folks. This is the Wargames Illustrated Nevermind the Billhooks table, and thanks very much, David of TMTerrain.
Pleasure. Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay. Right, cheers.
That's all right.
So
this video has been brought to you by WiPrime, Wargames Illustrated magazine's online members club. View more videos or find out more about WiPrime by following these links.